This is Lauren Baker, the founder of SEJ. And today we have with us Cody Cahill and Nicholas Chimonas, both of Page One Power. Say hi, Cody and Nick.
Hello.
So before they get started on today's presentation on the four-stage link building cycle, just want to do some house cleaning to let everyone know how to share this and ask questions. So first of all, the official hashtag of the SEJ Marketing Think Tank is hashtag SEJ Think Tank. So as you're experiencing today's webinar with Nick and Cody, feel free to interact on Twitter, take some screenshots, and let's try to make this baby trend over the next hour on Twitter. Also, we're going to be having 3 different polls for audience members. So we'll stop at the various stages of the 4-stage link building cycle to ask those poll questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the question box here on the GoToWebinar control panel. At the end of the presentation, we will have a lot of Q&A. And as you see, we have 2 presenters today, so there's going to be a lot of conversation and banter back and forth regardless. So we're really looking forward to that. And on that note, let's get things started with today's SEJ Marketing Think Tank. Again, the 4-stage link building cycle with Cody and Nick of Page One Power. So take off, guys.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks for having us, Lauren. It's pretty exciting to be here with Search Engine Journal.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Cody. Well, you got power on the slide. Let's
do this. Well, yeah, there's us. So, yeah, excited to be here again.
Same shirt. I planned that. That was not on purpose.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about using link building to drive content marketing and how link building fits into the whole content marketing paradigm, basically.
Right. There's 2 sides of the same coin. They definitely drive one another, but a lot of the connections are missed by people just focusing purely on one or the other.
Right. So, everyone's doing content marketing these days, and that's the big buzzword, but a lot of people aren't necessarily doing it with purpose. There's a lot of content just for content's sake being put out there, isn't there, Nick?
Yeah, and I really like how Rand Fishkin put this, is the delusion of content, that there's so much noise out there, it's a lot more difficult to be heard, and you need to make 10 times better content than your competitors, not just a little better content. You need stuff that truly stands out. If it's even just mediocre good or just kind of good, you still have a really hard not a very good chance of actually standing out.
Right. Your content can't just be unique content. It needs to be uniquely good content.
And besides that, there's other attributes besides just publishing content. One of those things we need to talk about today is links. And links are one of the most important things to make your content a signal. In order to get the organic rankings, the referral traffic, all that's what we're going to talk about today.
You need to be intentional about your content when it comes to creating links. It's not just about, I'm going to create some great content and earn links magically. No, you need to have the right thought process in mind. You need to know, what the intent of a particular piece of content is. And when it comes to creating linkable assets, content that's going to drive links, there's a lot of strategy. There's an art involved in that. It's different than other types of content through the marketing funnel.
Yeah, and Cody, I think that's exactly what Raphael was thinking about when he created the School of Athens, to discuss the differences between the Platoic view, the content marketing. Oh, it's just this, it's theoretical, it's wonderful. You make this content, the links, they'll just come, they'll happen. So it's the Aristotelian view that link building is a practical activity. It's something that is deliberate. It's about manual promotion. Links don't just happen. You need to make them happen. I think
all right, enough of that.
That's what Raphael talked about in this paper.
So content marketing and link building are not in 2 separate things. They're not, some people, it's not link building anymore. It's something else. Let's call it a different name. And link building in 2015 is a much different animal than it was, say, in 2012, pre-Penguin and stuff like that. But the notion that link building is somehow outside of normal content marketing is a misguided one in our view.
And that's, and that's where a little bit of history is worth mentioning here, that after 2012, after the first release of Penguin, a lot of spammy link building practices were hit. And that scared people off of kind of the word link building. It's something that's been around for a very long time. If you look at Google Trends, and compare content marketing and link building, you can see this really stark shift where content marketing kind of became the new link building. And that wasn't necessarily the best way to go about it. Link building has its place within the content promotion realm, and that's one of the main ways that we view link building is part of the promotion, the marketing part of content marketing.
And we're going to take a quick little break here for this poll question. So if you can take a second and go ahead and give us some information here, that would be much appreciated.
And these kinds of polls help us to understand who our audience is. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
Cool. So here's the poll. Which of the following best describes the department you work in? Select one of the following: in-house SEO, marketing department, PR department, content marketing team, or other. So we have about 40% of the think tank is voted thus far, up to 60%. Our goal with these is to always get about 80%. So get cracking on those votes. And we're at about 65 right now. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds to vote on which department best fits you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, poll's over. And I'm going to go ahead and share the results. Yes. So here you go. You guys want to go over these real quick?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit from the marketing realm. 35% in the marketing department, 15% content marketing team. Not much PR people here, which is interesting. But we like this. It really helps us understand who we're talking to, how we might cater the information to better fit that audience. So we'll talk a lot about what processes you might incorporate into your content marketing, in general, just to really ensure that you don't miss out on link opportunities to your great content you're already making.
I feel like this is like the demographics of the people that are listening is somewhat instructive and interesting because traditionally link building has been kind of under the SEO umbrella. It's about the algorithm and stuff like that. And slowly as the evolution of link building has continued, it's becoming more of a quote unquote real marketing thing and much more like traditional PR and traditional marketing, and so for our clients we see a lot where traditional marketers have now been merged with the SEO department in some way, or there's some transition like that going on, and sometimes that's a rocky transition, but it's certainly one that's necessary going forward.
Yeah, and I think that it's an interesting paradigm that link building was more of a technical thing, and now we have this real marketing aspect. There's a great quote from Cyrus Shepard who said, at its best, good link building is indistinguishable from good marketing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really true.
Yep.
But we'll get into that.
It's not about gaming the algorithm anymore. So anyway, so let's jump in here. Let's actually get into some nitty-gritty here. We're going to talk about the link building cycle, and there's some important caveats, right, Nick, about what we mean when we talk about this 4-stage cycle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people make the mistake of viewing link building as a linear process, that you simply go out, you find the sites, you get the links, and then you rank, and the day is done, you've won. Profit. But to us, it's cyclical in nature. It's something that these various stages feed back into one another, they inform one another, and it's something that continually repeats and gains momentum as you go too.
Right. It's not like the kind of thing where you start on phase 1, and then when you're done with that, you move on to phase 2, and phase 1 is done. All of these aspects are moving at the same time consistently if you want to have a successful link building campaign. So let's get into some of these. What do we mean when we talk about assessment, Nick?
All right, so phase 1, assessment. This is like, we want to see what's on your site, what you have that is already valuable, to identify gaps, see if there's nothing valuable or mediocre value, then that's going to be a problem. But in general, we want to see what kind of content you have that's maybe already performing well from a behavioral standpoint, from a user behavior standpoint. If we look at analytics and you have some really resourceful guide or something that people are really dwelling on the page long, digesting the content, low bounce rate, maybe it's already got a few links or some social shares, but no links, that kind of stuff. We want to see who's prominent in your organization, who already has connections out there because of their notability.
Right.
How can that be leveraged?
So your assets are more than just the content that you have on your website, potentially, correct?
It could be a lot of different things. It could be your pre-existing relationships or partnerships with actual businesses that you do business with. It could be just maybe even your employee base does something incredible, or your customer base has a certain hobby that you can become a part of, or become a voice within.
Sure.
You know, all those different things.
And it's important that you take this assessment, a frank assessment of what you have, both content-wise and any other asset your business might have. If you don't have strong assets, if you've got nothing in the way of linkable content, if you're not offering unique value, you probably don't want to be jumping into a link building game, at least if you want to do link building, you know, organically and build links that are actually going to stand the test of time rather than playing the kind of chase the algorithm, trying to stay one step ahead of the algorithm, messing around with disavow files and removing links and that kind of garbage. That's not building. That's not creating. That's something else entirely, and that's not the kind of link building that we recommend and that we are very passionate about.
Agreed. That's definitely something that is not very effective in the long term these days. If you do that game, you're constantly having to pick up the scraps and start over again and then burn a new site. It's not a way to build a legitimate foundation for a business that you wish to focus on long term.
Right. Or if you're a larger corporation with a more established website, you know, you might not, you know, you're not going to churn and burn your websites, but you're going to be playing this game where you're going to be investing in link removal and that kind of thing, and link audits constantly. And wouldn't you rather be investing in creating and building relationships rather than, you know, than messing around with, you know, trying to get rid of your links that you know, weren't manipulative a year ago, but now Google deems manipulative? Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, taking assessment of your site also, you know, means taking assessment of the competition. You know, what kinds of links are they getting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I really like to use SEMrush, keyword tool research for keyword discovery tool that I use for research in order to assess the competitive landscape, see where there's overlap in keyword rankings between myself and my competitor. Perhaps they're beating me out with certain pieces of content that is attracting a lot more links, and I need to make something better than that in order to beat them out in the search.
So after you take a frank assessment of what you have to offer and find what that is, and if you don't have it, then you better figure out a way to create, you know, the assets that you'll need for a successful link building campaign. Well, let's assume we've done that part. Now what, Nick?
Well, this is on to prospecting. So this means a few things, but essentially we need to go out into the web and discover what people are of influence within the niches that we wish to be a part of. We want to discover what websites have an audience that might be valuable for us to leverage. Overall, this is about finding topics, people, websites, a lot of different things, and it's an iterative process that guides what's being shared, what's being linked. And so that's two questions we're asking throughout our prospecting. What out here is being shared socially, and what's actually being linked to? And those two different types of content, they often are different types of content.
Very,
right?
very much so. And it's not just what is being shared, it's who is sharing it. And you know, as Nick notes, the difference between the kind of content that is going to be perhaps perform very well from, say, a social media perspective is likely going to be a little different than the kind of content that is going to be linked to. And the kind of the barrier to entry, you know, it's easy for people to you know, share something or like something on Facebook or retweet it. It's more of a process to get somebody to link to it.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is a really important key differentiator between if I build it, will they come or not, and if it's content marketing just for content marketing's sake with no deliberate focus on where you might be acquiring links and what types of content might acquire links, you're a lot more likely to end up with great social sharing, great social activity at the end of the day, and not very many links, because links don't just happen very often. Unless you're a huge site and you're getting a lot of great PR and there's media sites link naturally all the time. Small websites, small mid-sized businesses especially, need to be much more deliberate, and even the enterprise still misses out on all kinds of link opportunities. We've been writing about that quite a bit around search engine journals.
Yeah, if you've got a large-scale content marketing campaign going, you want to make sure that you have the type of content that's going to perform well socially and in other mediums, but you also need to be making sure that you're thinking about the kind of content that is going to be linkable.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the tools we use for prospecting. BuzzSumo is a really popular one out there. It's a content discovery tool. You can search by keyword, topic, by domain, by influencer on Twitter and see what kind of content is being shared, what has actually been successful. You can sort by the various social media platforms available, by Twitter shares or Facebook likes or Pinterest pins, LinkedIn, whatever. And depending on your audience, you're going to see vast differences. When you're working with the mom blog niche, you're going to see a lot more pins and a lot less LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll help inform who you're targeting. It'll also help inform what kind of content is out there.
We mentioned SEMrush earlier. It's one of many tools that's good for estimating data, estimating traffic of any website on the out there, looking at your competitors, that kind of thing. Majestic, OpenSite Explorer, Ahrefs, these are great tools to be taking a look at your competitors' backlinks, looking at what types of content is generating links, doing that kind of thing. And then Quora is kind of a tool, and that's a tool that can be used, and there's a lot of ways that you can do this, but we throw Quora on there. That's a way that you can find out what kind of questions, what kind of pain points does your core audience have right now. And creating content that addresses those concerns, those questions that your target demographic might have, it is a great way to to jumpstart your content marketing ideation process.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways besides Quora, but in general, it's a really good idea to look at what questions your audience is asking. Yahoo Answers actually sometimes pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Just searching questions that your audience might be asking based on long-tail research. If you use a tool like Ubersuggest, or that's going to be deprecated soon with the loss of the Google autocomplete API that they're retiring. But there's a new tool that my friend Sean Malseed has developed over at ranktank.org, and it does not rely on the API. You can still get keyword suggestions, so I highly suggest checking that out and trying out that beta so you can get keyword suggestions. And once you have keyword suggestions of long-tail questions your audiences are asking, just type them in and see what content's already showing up. See if there's a gap there that you could potentially fill. So we'll do some Google, just manual prospecting queries. We'll use scrapers there's a built-in prospector in the CRM we use, BuzzStream, which allows us to give it prospecting footprints to go out and regularly scrape for new results that show up for whatever keywords we're looking for, and so on down the line. But we will do a lot of this research in order just to find topics that are link-worthy,
right,
and relevant people and websites that are likely to link to content surrounding those topics. It's clicking through blogs. It's actually building relationships with people, talking to them, finding out where your target audience really exists on the web. And those are the kinds of websites you want links from, because it could actually drive direct referral traffic of a qualified audience, and it will help your rankings as well.
So you need to do this. You need to do your homework. You need to do your research if you want to have a successful long-term link building campaign. You don't want to just jump in. Hey, I hear I need links. Okay, I'm going to jump in and get me some links. Give me, and then I'll rank. It just doesn't work that way very well anymore, and it's not going to work. It's going to become decreasing or increasingly ineffective to have that kind of mentality going forward.
Yep, I completely agree. So that takes us to phase 3, creation. This is where you actually need to get down and create some content. And it's not just so easy as let's go out and write some content. There's a lot of different types of content that you can create. So that research we did during prospecting needs to inform what type of content we should create. Oftentimes, more often than not, businesses believe they should be writing bottom of the funnel content for every page on their website because they need to sell, sell, sell. But the problem is that type of content doesn't really get links. So for the most part, we are focusing on top of the funnel content.
Right. And how many times do we have clients come to us with the notion that they want their product or they're converting pages to rank. Of course they do, and we want to help them do that. But the way to do that isn't necessarily, oh, I'm just going to blast, exact match anchor keyword links, to that specific page, because those links aren't natural. I mean, certainly natural links can occur to product pages or converting pages, but the links, content that is informational and top of the funnel content is much more likely to acquire links. And if you really want to have a long-term link building campaign that's effective, you need to have this type of content on your site.
Yeah, and one thing worth noting here is definitely that if you are going to create resourceful top of the funnel content and earn a lot of links to it through manual promotion and outreach to your audience and all of that, you need to make sure you have the technical side of things covered. You need to have your internal link architecture optimized properly from the top of the funnel pages pointing to the mid funnel pages and lower funnel pages in order to send that link equity down the line. Don't just build out pages in silos and you have this resourceful content that ranks great for questions, which is still good. It's great to have that exposure.
You need all of that.
And
you need that kind of content.
You need awareness and people coming in at the top of the funnel, but you still need to send the links down and just understand that most of the links you earn come to top of the funnel content, then you send the equity down the line to the rest of your product pages.
Absolutely. So top of the funnel content is kind of vague, Nick. Like, specifically, what kinds of content in general are more effective at getting links as opposed to what we were talking about before, like social shares and stuff like that?
So as far as, there is a difference, and it's actually identifying the linkers on the web, which is a very small percentage of the web. Most of the web are commenters or sharers, right? Most people don't create or control websites or platforms. So first you have to understand what types of content those linkers usually link out to, which is what I like BuzzSumo for a lot. But it's the type of content that will actually earn links is that which is evergreen, typically, something that offers true value that is unique. There's a really there's a lot of pitfalls to get into. People will spit out things like, oh, just do an expert roundup. Go find the experts in your industry and interview them and bring them here and get a unique opinion. And that's cool, but you can also overdo it.
Right.
We'll do a top 10 list. All right, well, then all you do is 100 top 10 lists for the blog. So you need to keep it unique. You need to keep true value, not just spit out content for the purpose of links, but also for the purpose of delivering value to your audience.
Yeah, not just unique content, uniquely valuable content. But we speak in a lot of generalities here, but in general, longer form content is going to be more effective at acquiring links. And then content that is, obviously it needs to be visually appealing. You want the potential linker and any visitors. The first thing that they see is just a wall of text. It's not going to quite be as linkable as it might otherwise.
Along the aesthetics, a really big thing that people miss is a very clean URL structure. Mm-hmm. That very much affects the linkability of your content. If you don't have a succinct, describable, like a well-descriptive URL that actually gives a good idea to the user of what the content is, and you can read it and understand it before you click, that's huge. You really need that, and that can definitely shoot yourself in the foot if you have a bunch of numbers and characters in your URL. That's usually not good, mm-hmm. for many reasons.
So you touched on this before, Nick. Like what do we mean when we talk about content gaps, and how do you find out about them, and then what do you do once you realize you found a content gap?
So one example that we touched on earlier is finding questions or pain points, especially unanswered questions that your audience has, where there's maybe no definitive answer, or there's a lot of different answers, or maybe a lot of different opinions on a topic, and they're all scattered in many different places. You have to do a lot of searching to find it all. But maybe you could compile that all together or create something that's more comprehensive that actually fills that gap, fills the gap of a question that is unanswered. Mm-hmm. And that's one example. I mean, what else do you think?
I mean, sometimes it's not necessarily that the content doesn't exist anywhere, but you look around and you see content. Maybe it's even performing well and getting links, but it's not that good, or it needs to be updated, or things like that. I mean, updating stale content and giving it a refresh and repurposing it can be a great way to to achieve links and acquire links and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's about addressing your audience's needs, and that's a little vague, but that's really what it comes down to. And if you don't present value, you will not get links. Not the kind of white hat earned beautiful links that content marketing will bring you, only if you do this deliberateness. So that brings us to phase 4, which is outreach.
Yeah, and this is really where the rubber meets the road. If you're trying to do link building in-house, or you're going through a link building agency, and you want to know how good they are, look at their outreach. You know, you can't effectively build the kind of links that we're talking about unless you're a master of outreach. It is not about spamming the web with, begging people for links. It truly is, relationship building and a long, slow process, and finding a way to add value to the, to the people that you're reaching out to, and maybe even more importantly, their audience.
Right, and that's a big part of the prospecting, is that we wanted to discover people that have an audience we wish to reach. And understanding that prospect throughout the research process, and then creating content that will appeal to that prospect's target audience, our target audience as well, then we know it's time to outreach to them. So it depends who they are, how you talk to them, right?
Right. So if you're creating assets that might be appropriate to be listed on, say, a .gov resource page, your outreach approach when you're outreaching to a .gov is going to be very, very different than, say, if you're outreaching to a blogger, or you're outreaching to a small business owner. And so you have to be mindful of who that person is on the other end of the line, and then who their audience is as well.
And you have to be respectful of the time of the people that you're talking to. Although you are somewhat asking them for a favor, you also need to ensure that you're offering value to them. Sometimes that value can be the content itself. Sometimes the value is a slow play approach. And what we mean by that is actually building a relationship with the person whose audience you wish to reach before you ever ask them for anything. Comment on their blogs a little bit, comment on their content, share their content on social media, promote them a little bit, get your name in their mind, so that when you finally actually email them, they have an idea of who you are, and you have a really much higher chance of hearing back from somebody that you've already done something for. And even just promoting somebody's content is so simple. Just sharing their stuff on social media, it's a nice gesture. If it's content that resonates with you, and if they have an audience you wish to reach, well, their content will probably resonate with your audience as well. So there should be some synergy there. There should be some back and forth of value exchange. You're not just asking for a favor. You're not just begging for a link and panhandling on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that adding value mindset is so important with outreach. Sometimes, like you said, the value is the content. Ideally, your content is just so great, and your prospecting research is so perfect that the people you're outreaching to are, all you got to do is show them this content, because you know that they want that, and they're going to link to it right away. But in reality, you need to do a little bit more, even when you have your great content, to compel, or to get people to actually link to you. So it's more than just your content. It's the way you approach outreach. And if you're just going around begging for links, you're not going to get very many of them. Versus if you're going around adding value to the web.
A lot of people get stuck in the link peddling, link begging mindset. They want links. They get a few links. Maybe they even earn a few links, and they get some nice results. And that spikes the punch, and at that point they're addicted, and they go down this path of lower quality links and lower quality links until it's any guest post farm will do with an anchor text rich bio link in your guest blog. That stuff is not good. It's not adding real value to any human audience. As long as you keep the end user in mind throughout all of your link building efforts, and make sure that your link actually offers value to the end user, to some human on the internet, then you're going to be fine. You're going to have links that offer value to people and offer value to your organic search rankings as well. Those two things need to align in the same goal.
The value of that end user is something that gets lost sometimes, because we keep talking about adding value, and somebody could legitimately say, well, wouldn't I be adding value if I went around offering $500 for to sites to link? And I'd say, well, sure, but but that is adding value. But if that link, that's placed on the page isn't offering some notional value to the user of that page, then it is a manipulative link. Then it's not the kind of, that it's not a true vote, and it's not an organic link. And a lot of what causes people to want to do this the quick way and to just blast out emails that begging for links is because the desire to like scale up. People think, okay, I need to get X number of links. I want to get 100 links this month in order to try to catch up with the competition. And there might be some tricks where you can blast out a bunch of emails and maybe get your 100 links that month through a variety of non-user friendly tactics. But at the end of the day, do you want those 100 garbage links, or would you rather have 5 or 10 really quality links, that really matter? And from our experience, you'd much rather have those 5 or 10 links than hundreds of the manipulative kinds. Sure, the manipulative links can still work in the short term for a while sometimes, but is that really what you want to gamble on?
And that's what it comes down to. This is a risk-reward analysis. There are plenty of incredible black hats out there that have been doing this game for 10 years, and they constantly have to change their strategies and come up with a new way of doing things. And there's some out there that would argue that black hat link building is a long-term strategy if you're smart enough and you can dance around Google long enough. But I'm not willing to fight a bunch of Google engineers and their algorithms. I'd much rather get along with them, serve the interests of real people, and although we're building these links deliberately by outreaching and creating connections on purpose, those are earned links, and those are the kinds of links that Google's web thrives on. And that's what the link graph's purpose always has been. It's still as relevant as ever. It's still as powerful as ever, as long as you have the rest of the other signals in place too. You have to have real content. Panda will slap you if you have poor on-page SEO and a lot of duplicate content or thin content. So links won't help you. If you want to do things the white hat way, a lot of great white hat links won't help you if you don't have your content in line and your on-page SEO in line. You need all the factors. It's not to say that any one is stronger than the other. Links have always been really high up in the correlation studies by Searchmetrics and Moz. And they show that
every year.
Still, yeah, the most recent one for 2014 with Moz showed we don't see, it's like 90% or more of the top SERPs they analyzed were all link-based, and you couldn't rank without links on page 1 any of the competitive SERPs that they looked in. But you also can't rank without the on-page SEO and without the content, everything else. So it's not to say that any one factor is more important than the other, but link building is still very strong. Links are still very important to Google, as long as you have everything else in line too.
And yeah, despite proclamations to the contrary, that's not going to change either. I mean, links are at the core of Google's algorithm, and I don't see that changing, though obviously the algorithm is evolving. Certainly, social metrics or this, that, mobile friendliness, that kind of thing, it will change. But links are still going to be at the core if they're the right kinds of links, if they're real links.
Well, that was a fun tangent we just ran on there.
That's what we do.
I enjoyed that. But I believe we have another poll question coming up.
Take it away, Lauren.
Absolutely. And give you guys a chance to rest, drink some vitamin water. I'd like to thank both of you for actually using the word Bogart. Using the word Bogart in the presentation. First time I've ever seen
Bogarting. I think we accidentally double-clicked through that slide, but bogarting down blog rolls. Like clicking through blogs. Like when you find a really good blog, click on the blog rolls, and then click on that blog's blog rolls, and then click on all the commenters' links back to their blogs, and find all the good blogs that exist in a good neighborhood. That's bogarting down blog rolls.
Absolutely. So here is the next poll question. For the think tank, what is your biggest struggle with link building? Understanding how to effectively earn quality links, scaling link building enough to be competitive, avoiding penalization from spammy practices, or integrating across multiple channels. So I'll give everybody about 15 seconds or so to go ahead and vote. We're already at 40%, 50% now. So 10 seconds or so to let the rest of the think tank go ahead and vote on this. The results are coming in right now, so it's looking good. A couple are tied up. So let's do a little countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. And poll closed. The results are in. So it looks like we have a couple head-to-head here. And I'll hand it off to you guys.
We've got only 3% that are saying avoiding penalization from spammy practices. I like that a lot.
Me too. I'm almost surprised about that, but that is, yeah, that means our audience today gets it. And sure, understanding how to effectively earn links is you know, a difficult thing to comprehend. It takes a lot of practice and time and trial and error and failures, you know, to fully know how you're going to build effective links for your particular site. But you know, yeah, this is encouraging that, you know, that everyone's not running around, you know, trying to avoid penalization these days.
Just on the note that 41% answered scaling link building enough to be competitive as their biggest struggle. I think that's a really interesting, it's a philosophical approach you can take. You can either try to scale and get as many of the links as you're getting as possible, or our philosophy is that you should be scaling towards better links consistently throughout the whole campaign. You should constantly be building your portfolio up, publishing on higher tier sites, getting better links as you move. And if you're doing your link building right, the momentum of the campaign itself should afford you higher quality, better links as the campaign progresses. And that's really the scale that you want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I mean that's important for, you know, outreach as well. We talk about relationships, and you know, over time as you're building relationships through the value that you're adding, both with your content and in your outreach approach, you know, you're going to start accumulating these relationships, and they somewhat, you know, build off of one another.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to our conclusion slides. 4 stages we went over: assessment, prospecting, creation, and outreach. And it's not to say that it's always even 1, 2, 3, 4. Your outreach might inform you of where you should go prospect. When you're talking to someone you built a relationship with, they might point you over to their friend's blog or some other influencer, or even connect you with someone. Or you might ask them to connect you with somebody else within their niche if they're an influencer.
Absolutely. I think some of the best ways to come up with linkable content ideas is through your outreach process. Perhaps you're engaging with a particular potential linker, but you know, but they're not that interested in that content. Well, ask them what kind of content they are interested in. What would they like to see? What would they link to? And then use that to inform your content calendar.
Or when you're prospecting, you might find a few content ideas that seem promising, but you're not sure if you should create it yet. So outreach to the potential publishers, the potential influencers and people you've identified, and ask them, hey, here's a few pitches, here's a few ideas of content I'm thinking of creating. What do you think would be the best? And they might choose one. They might even have some feedback of how you make one of your ideas even better. Then you go back to creation, outreach again, and get that stuff published.
Right. It's somewhat ill-advised to you know, jump in. Okay, I got this idea for a great piece of linkable content, and then invest a lot of time, effort, and energy into creating said content without a sense of who is going to share it. When are they actually going to like it, and that kind of thing. And so you want to be creating that content, or as you're creating your linkable content, you want to almost start that outreach process already before it's even published.
Absolutely, and that's one of the most important parts of prospecting, is ensuring that you find content that you're very certain will resonate with a large audience sample. Because if you're just targeting only a few people at a time, that's maybe not as efficient. You need to make sure you're appealing to a wide group of your target audience and not polarizing too much and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, that just about does it for the 4-stage link building cycle. We're going to open it up for some extended Q&A for the rest of the presentation time that we have remaining. We'll answer any questions that you have. Please submit it through the GoToWebinar box. And Lauren will be moderating, sending those questions our way, and we'll answer them now on the air.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks again, guys. That was a great material. The first question that came in earlier in the webinar is from Dimitro. I'd like to know if what you guys think about renting backlinks, and is it still working? So I'll kind of build this out a little bit. So of course there used to be mass backlink rental through like Texacads and stuff like that, right? Where you can go and rent links on almost any blog sidebar, footer, yada yada yada. But what are your views on not maybe renting like month to month, but like paying for those links, renting those links, even if, or leasing, so things that may not be around for like a year or so, but at least you know the link's up there for, say, a quarter when the demand is there to get ranking up. What are your thoughts on that? This is even still relevant in the world of link building now.
It very well might still work.
Potentially anything
in some ways.
relevant.
I mean, yeah, that is not the kind of thing that we're advocating for. In fact, it's basically that's the exact opposite of what we're advocating for. I mean, and I know this was very popular and almost, this almost was what link building was for many years. But the whole notion of renting links, or I'm going to rent some anchor text, is just about the most asinine thing I've ever heard, frankly. I mean, that is not real marketing. That is trying to game the algorithm. And so if you want to play that game, hey, go for it, and it may work out for you in the short run, but that's not link building the way when we say link building.
I've seen people do it successfully to jumpstart their campaign, to get some results right out the gate, some quick links that they paid for or rented or whatever, and it didn't harm them. They were fine. They got away with it. They eventually built some real links and earned some real links, and then stopped paying for their links, and they got away scot-free. But that's the risk you have to be willing to take. Are you going to pay for these links that may or may not be there from some rando person on the internet that is probably a scammer? It's not a game I'm interested in. It's not a game we play with our clients, because most of our clients are looking to build something really long-term, really safe. They don't want the risk of penalization. There's been so many businesses just crushed by Google algorithms that there's like enough out there. And that's what really made me happy to see that low percentage having issues with link spam. Seems like that's really seized a lot. We had to do a lot of link cleanup, a lot of penalty removal in the year and a half, even 2 years after the first Penguin came out. And then every time there's a refresh of Penguin, there's a whole slew more of clients that have been penalized. Not our clients, but then we take them on and clean up their backlinks, or try to, but it's not always so straightforward.
Not fun process. It's a necessary evil, but again,
you can avoid it in the first place,
right,
if you just don't go down that path.
Don't go there. And you know, renting links probably is somewhat safer, but boy, yeah.
Next question.
It's funny. A couple things. Once I was presenting at a PubCon conference about content marketing building real links, and I brought up that renting links was bad. You don't want to do it. I had someone from a link rental company stand up and start yelling at me during the presentation. And then Google rolled out Penguin right afterwards. The second thing is that not only are you talking about like iterations of Penguin updating and devaluing or making those links detrimental to your ranking, but also Google will manually go after specific networks unannounced all the time. So something to be very, very careful of. K Money asks, I know you recommend some tools and most of them offer paid subscriptions. If you're in a budget and you only had to pick one, what's your favorite tool out there that pretty much gives you the most bang for your buck across the board?
Definitely Google. Google's the one. You can seriously, I mean, with Google spreadsheets, you can organize your entire link building campaign. That's how we started when we were just a young fledgling company and we were just getting started. We used Google spreadsheets. We could share them out to our clients. They could view our work live, completely transparently. You can use Google Spreadsheets, you can use Google Search, you can use Google Alerts to set up mentions for keywords and brands and all kinds of stuff to get notified. Google is the most powerful tool you can use for SEO, because you also get Google Webmaster Tools, which gives you all kinds of keyword research data, on-page SEO and technical SEO audit data to clean up your site, clean up errors on your site. view impression and click-through rate and ranking data from Webmaster Tools. You can use Google Analytics to track the performance organically and direct. And really, that would be, if I had to choose one tool that's free, that's what I would go with.
But he was saying if I was only going to buy one tool, what would that be? And I think that kind of depends on what your goal is with that tool. If you're looking for a tool to, say, inform your content creation process, I can't speak highly enough about BuzzSumo. If you want to do your competitive analysis, that kind of thing, and be looking at backlinks and have the metrics at your fingertips, I mean, the Moz suite of tools, is something that we use every day. Majestic, it's great for backlinking. It's really hard to say if I only had one tool, which one that I would pick, but it would be one of those.
If I chose just 2 paid tools, I'd go with Majestic for the backlinks because they have the most comprehensive backlink selection out there, largest crawl, and I'd go with BuzzSumo for my content research.
Yeah.
Great.
2 different types. You got to have one content or keyword tool and one backlink tool. But yeah.
Awesome. Great tips. And thanks for going over Google as being that one tool as well. That could probably be a presentation on its own. Next question from Candy. Do you need to be when you're link building or prospecting in terms of where you're going to build links? Do you need to be in the industry that you're link building for, or can your concept of link building plan expand into other industries? So I guess one of the questions here is like if you're building links for, say, I don't know, a furniture company, are there opportunities outside of the world of furniture that you can build links from, and other
great question.
verticals?
That's a really great question, and the answer is you absolutely can go outside of your hyper niche vertical for links. What you want to be acquiring when you're acquiring backlinks is first of all you want to be acquiring authority. You want links on sites that possess some authority, sites that people actually read, pages that people actually use. That's where you want your links. Now it's also important that you also have what we call relevancy, or maybe better phrased, topical authority. So you certainly want links, you want lots of links from your hyper-specific niche, but it's not true that oh gosh, I wouldn't want this link on some authoritative blog that isn't specific to my niche, that isn't a furniture blog. I'm just going to get a link on a news site or something like that oh my gosh, that's not relevant. Like that isn't true. So, and a lot of it is not about, what specific niche your website is or what specific niche your products are, but it's about the specific types of content that you're creating and that you're trying to get linked to. And if you're creating a variety of what we call that top of the funnel content, it's probably going to be useful and relevant to an audience wider than just your, target customers.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is that when you build out linkable assets and new pieces of content on your site, it allows you to expand your topical relevance out further to the point of where you can have more page-to-page relevance. So if you're, like Cody was mentioning, if you're on a media site or a news site, something like that, where it's a more journalistic approach, if that entire page is about the content relevant to the linkable asset on your page, that page-to-page relevance is really important. There is domain-to-domain relevance, and that's awesome too. But it's okay if the domain is side relevant to you, not direct relevant to you, but the page on that side relevant domain, the page is directly relevant to you. You're going to be fine in terms of topical relevance. But like I said, building out that content can expand out that topical relevance. We've had a lot of e-commerce businesses that think we can only write or publish directly about their products, but their products, maybe it's for pets, but it's also a product that the affinities of their target audience exists within the realm of outdoorsiness and hiking and whatever else. And so we can write about those things and tie it into the lifestyle of our audience and create content on our domain that is relevant to that lifestyle and the interests of our audience. And so those kinds of things can really help expand that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
great. A couple.
No, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. A couple more questions, Cody. and Nick. A while back, 9 months ago or so, Google came out saying that, hey, HTTPS or making your site secure may help with ranking. So Janice asked is, do you recommend implementing that as a ranking factor? I'll expand upon that a little bit. And the question is, do you look at HTTPS as a link from a secure site having more value to you from a link building campaign, or is it too soon to say?
Okay, I'm gonna answer the first question of do I actually recommend someone switching to HTTPS purely for the ranking boost? Absolutely not. And actually, this is in disagreement with Gary Ilias, the latest kind of Matt Cutts stand-in person from Google, and he said that if you're recommending that, then you're giving bad advice. But the truth of the matter is, from all of the case studies out there today, and from what I've seen personally, migrating sites from HTTP to HTTPS resulted in a loss of overall organic visibility, rankings, and traffic, most likely, in a lot of opinions of people out there, because of the 301 redirects and the small amount of link equity or page rank that is lost during a 301 redirect. So when you're 301 redirecting all of your non-SSL URLs to SSL URLs with the HTTPS, you are actually potentially losing some of your overall equity, even if there's a very small ranking boost. Now, perhaps long-term, that ranking boost for HTTPS will become more prolific. I would definitely recommend, if you're starting a site from scratch, start with HTTPS. Go with SSL, build for the future. But if you think you're just going to migrate and 301 redirect your HTTP to HTTPS just for some organic boost, you're probably in for a nasty surprise.
Yeah, you're not going to get. I would not do that for the ranking boost. There may be other compelling reasons to do so, but not, oh, I'm going to get a boost in rankings. And we've seen it happen where people do that and they do it poorly. And the redirects aren't in place, or worse, they basically end up with duplicate content because they keep their HTTP and their HTTPS, and maybe both are acquiring links, and it's splitting your link equity.
Now, is a link from an HTTPS site worth more? Perhaps in some trust signal factor that maybe Google is crawling that HTTPS site a little more, and maybe they're trusting the links ever so slightly more, but that's certainly conjecture and potential hypotheses, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd still be more concerned about how many quality links are pointing to the domain. If we have two domains side by side that are both relevant to me, and I'm thinking of targeting one or the other, one is SSL and the other is non-SSL, but the non-SSL site has more links and more relevant links and more audience.
And therefore authority.
Yeah, all of those things are so much more important than if it's SSL or not. I'd say it's probably such a minuscule thing, if it is a thing at all, in the link graph. But ask Gary Ilias, maybe he'll tell us. Probably not.
Yeah, good points. I haven't seen one case study that supports what Google has said. Actually, it is all pretty much the opposite. What I would say is that if a site does have short forms, long forms, or forms that pass on personal information, that site should have been HTTPS anyway. So if you are not HTTPS and you are an unsecure site that passes personal information into a database or whatever through a form, then that needs to be fixed. Okay, next question. Let's get back to...
Hey, Lauren, before we go on to our next question, I was wondering if we could take a pause for our final poll, and then we'll continue the Q&A. Would that be all right?
Absolutely. Let's do the final poll while everyone's still on.
And we'll keep answering questions as long as people are on the line, as long as you have time, Lauren. We're willing to stay as long as people have questions. So.
Absolutely. We'll do one more quick one after this, and then we're done at 11. So are you interested in learning more about link building services from Page One Power? All new clients are eligible for $500 off. So if you're interested in learning more about Page One Power's link building services, please let us know.
Thanks, Lauren. Got to pay the bills.
Give everyone a chance to answer. We're actually at 40%, which is great. Almost closing in on 50. So let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to be closing. Time to get your last vote in there. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. So, final question while we're on this is, how do you know what other sites your audiences are visiting? You brought this up before with selecting different sites that your audience may also visit or view. How do you figure that out? Or what?
Well, so
ask them.
that's great. Start. Yeah.
Interview your customers.
Build out some personas, build out your potential personas, and this is something you should do just before you do marketing in general. You should have a good idea of who your potential buyer personas are, identify what their affinities and interests are, what their interests are that are directly relevant to you, and what their side interests are that are affinities to the interests directly to you. So, like I said earlier, if they might want to buy your pet product, but they're also outdoorsy people, then those affinities in the outdoorsy realm should be identified, and then you should go find sites that talk about those things, where your audience would be. Sites that are of quality, that have regular traffic. You can identify estimated traffic with SEMrush. You can look at the backlinks of the site using Majestic and Open Site Explorer, like we mentioned before, to see if the site has a significant amount of equity. If it's ranking well and getting a lot of traffic, it probably has a lot of good links pointing to it, which is a good thing if you want to link from that site. And then look at the content that's being produced and see if it aligns with your audience interests, and see what kinds of comments your potential audience is leaving, or at least the comments of the audience of that site, and identify if they're potentially your audience.
And the link building process, like as we said earlier, informs this kind of, knowledge of who our, targets are, and that could be your target customer, and that also can be, your targets for acquiring links, and sometimes those are going to be two different things. You would never necessarily want to create content that's completely irrelevant to who your marketing persona, your buyer persona. But sometimes you need to be creating content that's designed to be, to have a broader audience than just those individuals.
Absolutely. And persona building is really marketing 101, right? So it's something we can't forget when building links. Well, I'd like to go ahead and thank both of you again, Cody and Nick, for taking the time today to do this on the SEJ Marketing Think Tank. We all really enjoyed it. To let everyone know, the video of this presentation is going to be available on YouTube, on SEJ, and Facebook after today, and we'll also be sharing the presentation on the SEJ SlideShare channel. And a quick announcement, our next SEJ Marketing Think Tank webinar is going to be on September 2nd with yours truly, building upon the discussion of link building and blogger outreach, and that will be moderated by Kelsey Jones, our editor at SEJ, and myself, Lauren Baker. I'll be presenting. So again, Cody and Nick and the team at Page One Power, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. And if we didn't get a chance to get to your question, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or send us an email, and we're always happy to talk link building with anyone that would like to. No strings attached. Just we just like talking shop.
Absolutely. We'll be following up with all of those questions and sending your questions over to the Page One Power team to answer if they didn't get a chance to as well. So thanks again, and we'll be signing off, and see everyone next time.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate it.